Elen, Scylla, Lumen, Omen Tielvo. Today I bring to you all the history of Doriath. The land that would become Doriath was inhabited by the Sindar elves of Thingol during the Years of the Trees. After the first battle of Beren in 1497 of the Years of the Trees, Thingol gathered all the Sindar he could, and through the power of his wife Melian, the Girdle of Melian was created, and all the lands within the fence were protected from Morgoth's evils. Thus was Doriath, the land of the fence, created. To the north of Doriath lay the Nan Dungortheb, with the Ered Gorgoroth and Dorthonion beyond. To the south lay the river Aros and the hills of Andram. In the east lay Himlad, Himrin, and Thargelion. To the west lay Hithlam, Nargothrond, and Brethil, with Brethil being considered a part of Doriath, but not within the girdle. The river Esgalduin would flow into Doriath, passing near the halls of Menegroth, and flowing into the river Sirion on the southwest border. Because of the Girdle of Melian, Doriath would remain largely peaceful and out of the events of the First Age, as Thingol ceded the lands north of Doriath to the Noldor. Due to Thingol's kinship with the children of Finarfin, they were welcomed many times in Doriath, as were many Noldor at this time. This changed, however, when Thingol learned of the kinslaying at Aukalande and the deaths of many of his kin. For their actions, the sons and followers of Fëanor were banned from ever coming to Doriath. Those that were forced to pass through Helcaraxe were not banned, as Thingol believed these Noldor had repented due to their hardships. The house of Fingolfin and Finarfin were not welcomed in Doriath until Thingol's wrath cooled, however. Thingol also banned the use of Quenya in all his realms, as his people would not use the language of those that slew their kin unjustly. It was because of these actions that Thingol refused to join in the wars of Beleriand. In 300 of the First Age, men had first entered into Beleriand, and Thingol wanted no dealings with these new folk, and he proclaimed that no man shall enter Doriath, though Melian knew that one man shall indeed come into Doriath. Thingol did, however, give the lands of Brethil to the Haladin, a house of men, due to Finrod Felagund speaking on their behalf. In 455, the Dagor Bragalach began, ending the siege of Angband and destroying many realms. Almost a decade later, Beren, son of Borahir, a man, enters Doriath, breaking the girdle. There, in the woods of Neldoreth, Beren met and fell in love with Luthien, the daughter of Thingol. When Thingol learned of Beren from Dairon the minstrel, Thingol was enraged, especially when Beren proclaiming his love of Luthien in the halls of Menegroth. So Thingol sent Beren on the quest for the Silmaril, much to Luthien's dismay. Thingol also locks Luthien up in the tree Hirielorn, when he learned she was going to depart to help Beren. Luthien does escape, and Doriath itself becomes colder as Luthien departs. Messengers from the Fëanorians' sons Celegorm and Curufin reveal they have Luthien and demand Thingol give Luthien to Celegorm to marry. Enraged by yet another evil act by the Fëanorians, Thingol prepares his armies for war against Nargothrond until his scouts reported Luthien has fled and Celegorm and Curufin have been banished. As winter ended, a new danger came to Doriath, for Carcharoth, the wolf of Morgoth, who ate the Silmaril from Beren's hand, entered Doriath. But Beren and Luthien would return, and they told their tale to Thingol, whose heart was softened towards Beren. As Carcharoth's path of destruction continued in Doriath, Thingol and his captains, Mablon, Beleg, and Beren, and Huan the Hound, would go hunt the wolf. Huan would try to dislodge Carcharoth, but the wolf would leap upon Thingol and bit Beren as he tried to spear the wolf. Huan would return, and the battle between the hound and the wolf was terrible. Huan would slay Carcharoth, but Carcharoth mortally wounded Huan. Beren's body was brought back to Luthien, who died of great sorrow, but returned with Beren as a mortal, and the two would depart Doriath. In 472, word came to Doriath of the union of Maethros, but Thingol would not join forces to the union for the crimes of the sons of Fëanor. Thingol would send Mablon and Beleg, though, as the two captains did not wish to be left out of the battle. The following year, Thingol and Melian would take in Turin, son of Hurin, as their own son. Morgoth, having destroyed the northern elven realms, turned his attention to Doriath, sending his orcs to attack. While the orcs could not enter due to the girdle, the marshlands would be contested. When Turin came of age, he joined the March Wardens in battle. Upon returning to Menegroth, Turin would throw a cup at the elf Seiros, after Seiros insulted Turin's mother. Seiros would later attack and be killed by Turin, though the killing was an accident, who would later flee from Doriath. Thingol, upon learning of these events, would pardon Turin and send Beleg to find him. Neither Turin nor Beleg would ever return to Doriath, but Morwen and Nienor, Turin's mother and sister, would enter the kingdom. After the fall of Nargothrond, the survivors told that Turin lived in Nargothrond. Morwen asked Thingol for leave to look for Turin, and though Thingol loathed to do so, he did not stop her. Thingol did send out 30 riders to learn all they could of Nargothrond. Unknown to all was that Nienor joined in the search, and neither Morwen nor Nienor would return. Mablon would return to Thingol and tell him how Morwen and Nienor were lost, and that the dragon Glaurung now lived in Nargothrond. Several years later, Hurin himself, released from captivity from Morgoth, would enter Doriath. In scorn he threw down the Nauglamir at Thingol's feet for the keeping of his wife and children. Hurin's grief was broken by looking into the eyes of Melian. Hurin would then give Thingol the Nauglamir in honor before leaving. Thingol, now in possession of both a Silmaril and the Nauglamir, wished to combine the two. So he hired dwarves from Novgorod to merge the two crafts. During the crafting, the dwarves began to desire the necklace, and they demanded the necklace as payment, to which Thingol refused and sent the dwarves off. The dwarves, however, would kill Thingol and steal the Nauglamir, but in their escape, the elves caught and slew all but 2 of the dwarves, who fled without the Nauglamir. The death of Thingol drove Melian to utter sadness, which broke the girdle she laid upon Doriath for so long. After giving Mablon final instructions, Melian headed into the west to Valinor once more. With the girdle gone, Doriath was now under threat as the dwarves of Novgorod attacked. In the Battle of the Thousand Caves, the Sindar were ravaged, and Mablon was slain outside the treasure hall. Doriath was in ruins, but the realm would be restored by Dior, who, after he and his father Beren slew the dwarves, took the throne. Dior returned Doriath to some of its former glory, but it was far from the great kingdom it once was. Not too long after taking the throne, Dior received the Nauglamir, for his parents had passed away. The return of the necklace would bring war again to Doriath, for the sons of Fëanor lay claim to the Silmaril, but Dior refused them. So, in the winter, the Fëanorians attacked, at unawares sparking the second kinslaying. Dior would slay Celegorm, with Curufin and Caranthir falling as well. Dior and his wife would both fall, with their sons being left out in the woods to die by Celegorm's servants. Their daughter Elwyn and the Nauglamir would escape with the survivors to the havens of Sirion. While Doriath was permanently destroyed, its memory was not forgotten by its inhabitants, the Sindar. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and let me know how I can better improve these videos. Thanks, and as the elves say, Namarie.